And this is Russ Anderson. In this tutorial, I'm going to talk about the multi-export capability in SynthEyes. And this capability lets you export the scene to a whole set of different exporters. You can export to Max, to Maya, to Cinema 4D, to whatever, all with one single button push. And that is really to hit this export multiple here. But before we do that, we need to configure it. So let's look at the configure multi-export panel. So we've got our scene ready to go. We've now got a list of exports here. This is just the list that I've got set in the preferences right now. So if I want to add some more in, I can go and do that. And I'm just setting them up now for this particular scene. So you can set up a list of exports for any particular scene. If we want to go, we can just hit this delete key and delete any of these, select and delete them. So we can modify our list, and then if we want, we can save the current list away as the preferences for future scenes when future scenes are created. Or of course we can just reset to our original list in the first place. So once we have our list set up, now we can think about where it's going to go, where the exporter is going to go. So the base file name of the SynthEyes scene itself, here it's been saved as multiexp, is going to get used for all of the exports. As far as the path, if you've done a export initially, that path is going to be used for all of the exports. So let's do an initial export here. And we're just going to go and put all of these into the little temporary folder I've set up for this. So we'll go into here. You notice here we got the parameter panel for this 3ds export. Now when we go and do the multiple export, we won't see each of the individual panels flying by. That would kind of spoil the point to have to wade through 6 or 7 different panels. So it's a good idea to do what I just did and go and do an export to make sure that you've got the right settings for each of your different panels. From time to time when you're setting something up, just so you know that you have the right parameters for each individual export. And then once you've done that, then you're positioned to just go and do the multiple export operation. Now, if you haven't done any export yet, then a preference is going to be used. That's out here. It's the export preference folder, and that's within your user data area by default, but you can change the folder that all of these things get exported to if you're so inclined. And finally, if there's not either an existing export or an export preference, then actually they'll go into the same folder as the SNI file. So you've saved the SNI file away. That folder will get used for the exports if there's no better choice available. So at this point, let's go and run the export. So I just ran it. You can see down at the bottom on the status line, it gives us a list of what it did. And it exported 7 different folders, or 7 different files. But when we go and look in the folder itself, you'll see that there's only 6. So what's up with that? And the answer to that comes if we go and look back in our list of exports, you'll see that there are actually 2 different Python exports. So 2 of the files, since they're just using the same name, this file got written to twice. There's only 1. So what you can do, you just go and double click over here, and we can set up a little suffix for the file name. You'll see that listed up here. It's a little semicolon, and then C4D is the export. So now when I go and do the multiple export, you'll see there's this 7th file sitting there that has multiexp C4D. So that way you can just set up the file names so that you can tell what's what easier. So that's kind of, a reasonable idea just to do in general, especially when you have these kind of generic extensions. So that's what the multi-export capability is about. As you saw, it runs quite fast once you get it set up. So I know a lot of people are delivering multiple forms of output down their pipeline. So this is a nice way to set that up and get it done.